Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I got hair going wild this week.
Oh,
Hello,
man.
Dr. Chris.
What's going on?
Oh, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. And it's not all what I want it to be.
All right, do tell.
Well, I sent out a my daily binge
Yep.
today. I'm tying this all in with Wrestle Binge and here on Wrestle Room. Thank you everybody for being here. And you know, I'm known as the easygoing guy. You know, I was print bait before there was clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
I stand up for everything, but there are some things going on that I just don't get. One of them is why this hair is coming out of my head.
That's all good, man. It's coming out
You
your
know
hat because of how you feel, Bill, from all the stuff that's going on.
I
That's not
know it
very
is.
positive.
I know it is.
Yeah.
You know what's bugging me?
What's bugging you, Bill?
You know, the commentators make a great presentation
Mm-hmm.
of the man from Mexico, the
Mm-hmm.
great love his entrance, Penta. The commentators make like Penta is the most incredible human wrestling machine in the world.
Yeah.
Now, I know WWE is 50-50, their matches.
Yeah.
But the more and more I watch Penta, it's more like 60-40 in a lot
Okay.
of his matches.
Okay.
And finally, the duty hit the fan with me watching Monday Night Raw last night, depending upon when you're watching this. What's today's date, Dr. Chris? What is it?
24th.
24th. So on the 23rd, they had a really spectacular match between Bron Breakker
Yep.
and the spectacular Penta. And I didn't even think of how they were going to, let me just adjust this for a minute. I didn't even think of how they were going to end it.
Mm-hmm.
I just figured it's probably two main event guys. It's going to be a double DQ. And there were a couple of times during the match when they both crashed into the broadcasting table and they were down there and they could have been down there for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Meantime, Penta goes into the ropes, comes off with this great move, and Bron Breakker's spectacular explosive spear. Penta goes down. 1, 2. I'm waiting for that arm to
Yep.
go up. No. Braun Breaker has pinned Penta. And this isn't the first time Penta has lost in WWE. Now, remember this, WWE just had this Worlds Collide show. They've made an agreement with AAA.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think that if I'm WWE, I'm not going to mess around and take my main AAA front guy right now
Yep.
and have him pinned, no matter who it is, even
Yep.
if it was Seth Rollins. And then to add insult to injury, after he loses, Seth Rollins gets in his face and says, "So you can try me next, but you don't have to." Who would think? Who would think if Braun Breaker has already beaten Penta that
Mm-hmm.
Seth Rollins can't do it? What's the
Correct.
mentality there? I just don't get them taking the people that are so into Penta and
Yep.
wanting him to win and look like the commentators say, and again, I'm not the booker, I'm not the writer, I don't know what they have in mind. Maybe it's going to be Penta against the whole Oracle, the new name of the Paul Heyman group.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you do your Monday night show with Vince Russo,
Yep.
and I didn't watch last night for the first time in a long time. But what did you two think of that?
Similar to what you just said. I think it was. I didn't. It didn't make any sense to me. I was there live, and I was
Oh,
feeling.
right, Ohio.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I felt the same way. It just didn't make sense to me of why. Yesterday, I mentioned on the show. I said, it would make sense if you cashed out on all the investment that you make within his promos and all the money that you put on with the fire and the pyro and all that stuff, and hey, make him a star, because the more you make him a star, the more it makes sense of the more you get on your investment, the more
Oh,
ROI
of
you
course,
get, because
merchandising, everything, of course.
exactly, exactly. So what happens is you make him a star. He already has star power. Like he has a mystique and a charisma to him
Yeah,
that's intangible and is infectious. Why not cash out on that? Why not make him a star? Why not give him the opportunity to even sell more merch based on his star quality and his
you don't
star
have to beat
power?
them.
And you don't have to beat him. Like similar to what I said yesterday. I said you could have easily booked a different match yesterday. You didn't have to book Penta versus Braun Breaker. To me, it didn't make any sense, even from a storyline perspective. You just randomly booked, Penta versus Braun Breaker. If you're trying to make Braun Breaker look good, anybody could have been an option, to go
Oh
against Braun
yeah,
Breaker.
yeah, but
You
there's an
shouldn't you
excitement.
shouldn't choose you shouldn't
There's an
choose Penta.
excitement for that match. I knew going in. I said, "Oh, Braun Breaker against Penta. I don't know what they're going to do with this, but it's going to be a hell of a match." But,
And see, Bill, see the Bill that goes along with my what I say every single week on this show, as far as the psychology and making it make sense. Because what happens is, once you just start booking matches for matches sake, which is something I say all the time, that doesn't make sense to me. Why book matches for matches sake? Now I get it. There's sometimes for matches it's exciting on paper and things like that. But if you know the outcome, which creative does, they know that they're going to make Penta lose. Why in the world would you have him just get pinned cleanly?
I
And it's
don't
been
get it.
it's been consistent. He lost against Dominic. He lost
Yeah, I
against
know.
Kaiser. Like he like
Right?
he's racking up losses after weeks of vignettes and all the stuff that happened from AEW, leaving AEW, all the hype that came with Penta. It would make a lot of sense for them to just push him to the moon. I don't see why not.
The general fan the general fan, not us inside people in the business that do what we do.
Yep.
Okay, nothing to do with the psychology or anything. The general fan just looks at it as, oh man, Penta lost. The fan that believes Penta lost. That doesn't look good for Penta. That kid is, I can't believe he lost to Braun Breaker. This kind of thing. So it doesn't. Now, you were there live.
Well, that's the thing. I think it has a lot to do with the psychology because you just explained it. You just explained the
Yeah, yeah,
psychology
yeah,
of
yeah.
what a kid would think.
I
So I
don't know
think
if the
it.
general fan thinks of it that way.
Well, the general fan is thinking why he lost against Braun Breaker. It's puzzling. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. And
yeah,
again, that's psychology. Because if it doesn't make sense, if there's no justification, and it doesn't make sense to why Penta just did a clean loss to Braun Breaker, it's
yeah,
leaving people scratching their heads, and it
yeah.
boils back down to psychology. It just doesn't make
I
sense.
lost a lot of more of my comb over
Mm,
yesterday.
because of that.
So you were in the audience. You were there live.
Was. Yes, I was.
Um, People around you, did they go like, "Gee, holy whatever! Can't believe he lost."
No, not really. No. See, that's the thing, Bill. Attending live versus to me, it's a lot more logical when someone is like uh, watching it from television. It's like going to a concert, and you don't like the band that's playing. You really don't like it's not
No.
really exciting. The band isn't really good, but there's an energy that just comes with the concert that it just kind of brings it up a notch. And I think that's what a lot of the WWE creative, and I think that that's a lot of their purpose nowadays. I think they just want to be sure that the concert is concerting, and they want to make sure that the people watching on TV, I'm not too worried about them so much. I just want the concert attendees to have the greatest time of their life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Make sure that they leave uh, pleased. And the thing is, they're going to leave pleased anyways with the type of fan that we're dealing with right now. So
So
I think you should focus. I think you should factor in both elements when it comes to overall business model. Yes, please the fans, but the hardcore fans are going to be there anyway. If you want to keep business rolling from an increase standpoint, got to reach those casuals.
okay, all right. So here's my
That's my
question.
take.
We're in the writers' room right now. Three or four
You in the
writers.
writers' room, Bill? Let's do it.
Okay, we're in the writers' room, and Hunter, Paul Levesque approves everything like Vince does. For Paul Levesque is not sitting in an office writing scripts. That's not what he does there. So they've got a
Okay.
committee of writers, and Braun Breaker,
Yeah.
and I would assume Paul Heyman has a hand in this too. I really think he does. Um,
Okay.
so but we're going to take Braun Breaker and put him with Penta tonight. What should we do with them? Well,
Which
uh, we're gonna make Paul's group has got to stay strong. So Braun's going to go over. Okay, well, what is what does it mean for Penta? Are we not thinking of that Penta's going to look like his value is devalued a bit at that point?
well, I agree with you. I don't think that that's an emphasis. I don't think that that's really something that they focus on in the writing room anymore. It's just like what match will cause the fans to be excited.
Do wins and losses really not count unless it's the title? Is that how they may be looking at it?
I think that's a good point. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I do think that that's a good point. I do think that the emphasis more is, hey, let's just book matches to appease the fans, wins and losses, whatever. At the whatever by the end of the match, they'll enjoy the match, they'll be excited about it, and then they'll go home
Okay,
happy.
okay.
Yeah, I don't like that though. because I do think that you have to build up stars and they have to rack up wins. I mean, like
I
you just,
agree with you
yeah,
100%.
I mean, you have
So
to.
to
I
fix
mean,
it,
one thing I do respect, like I respect a lot of things that you say, but one of the things that I love that you talk about, I even talked about this on one of my other shows, that the old school mentality of a star looking like a star, like
mhm,
that is one of the things that is really big in old school pro wrestling. You had to
yeah,
look the part. You had to have an intangible, a je ne sais quoi, basically,
oh,
and you had to
really,
have that element. And I think that Penta has that mystique, of being the person that passes the airport test, that has that type of mystique towards him. Why are you having him lose matches where this could be someone who could be one of your top merch sellers easily?
yeah,
People
and
like
then
him.
have Seth Rollins go up in his face and say,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
insult him just a bit more. Yeah, I don't know about the wins and losses. Now there was something else that.
Before you go
Go ahead.
to something else, let me put a bow on that. The only thing that I can see that could be the case, perhaps this is, I'm not I don't put all of my eggs in trusting the long-term booking of WWE based on what we've seen over the past several years. But what this could lead to, perhaps, is Penta remembering that moment, and then Seth Rollins. I think all signs point to. I've heard a couple things too, but I think that all signs point to Seth Rollins winning the World Heavyweight Championship
Oh yeah, me too.
at SummerSlam. So
Yeah.
Seth Rollins, World Heavyweight Champion. Now, could you get to the point where Penta gets pushed toward the beginning of the year, and you have like Penta win the Royal Rumble, and that can lead to a Penta versus Seth match down the line?
I think he's lost too much at that point. I don't want to see what I don't want to see is Penta join the LWO.
Oh
Number one.
goodness!
No,
Oh,
the other thing is
please no.
perhaps this is the time that Penta's brother Ray Phoenix comes in and says you can't do this to us. So you now have the Heyman people involved with Phoenix and Penta, and there
Mhm.
now you have Braun Breaker and what's his
Bronson.
name? Bronson Reed
Mhm.
against Penta and Phoenix. I think that would be a really good program. That's the revenge part.
Yeah, I mean it'll just lead to a match.
Revenge.
I mean,
You
yeah,
remember
just
Spiros Arion? Revenge.
yes.
Dalton,
Yeah,
you were in the audience last night.
I just think that it just lead to a match. I really don't see an angle that comes out
Well,
of it.
hopefully, I'd like to see Ray Phoenix and Penta. You know, you
Not yet.
saw you saw Penta. You know, at AEW, everybody's can't wait till he gets here, and then this.
Yeah.
Already, I see with Mariah May as her new character.
Mhm.
Uh, she's not strong on the radar. You know, it was
Oh,
so
really?
strong coming from. I just a feeling I have is that the NXT thing, they're pushing her with this whole Marilyn Monroe gimmick
Mhm.
right now. I just think they should have kept the same. Even if they changed the name, which they did, they just should have kept the same persona for her as this.
She's not really connecting with you.
Not with me. No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
Too. I don't think to me, it's a Tony Storm clone in a lot of
Really
ways.
feels like a knockoff in a sense.
Yeah, but what
Mhm.
I want to talk to you about is you were in the audience last night,
I was.
and something really surprised me about the people in the audience, and you
Okay.
were one of them probably.
Was I?
I don't know if you joined them, but when Gunther came out and did his thing, the fans were cheering, and every time he mentioned Goldberg, the fans booed. Goldberg was not the most popular guy with the fans. Every time Gunther mentioned him, I was pretty surprised that the fans in Ohio were not backing up, even though he wasn't there in person, that they weren't cheering him and booing Gunther. It seemed like Gunther was getting cheered, that they were glad to see him back as world champion, and they were glad to see him talk about what a nothing old man Goldberg is.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you the scoop on that, Bill. So this just falls right in line of what I've been saying for a long time, which is pro wrestling fans, they capitalize on um, just feeling valued and feeling like what's the cool thing to do. Because when it was commercial, when y'all were looking at commercial break, there were there was a Goldberg video package that was talking about, like, that was just kind of beefing up Goldberg and promoting him and things like that. That got cheered, and there were Goldberg chants during your
Oh,
yeah.
TV
And
people didn't see that.
correct. And so, but what they did see was there were Goldberg chants in the very beginning of Gunther's promo. And then as soon as he started talking about like old has been and things like that, fans were like, "Oh yeah, that's right. We're supposed to be booing that. Yeah, boo. Yeah, you're right. Boo Goldberg." Because the cool thing to do is just to boo Goldberg.
Yeah, yeah.
When in essence, before that promo, before television came back on, Goldberg was getting cheered. There were Goldberg chants that
Didn't
was
know
starting
that.
throughout the arena, and it was pretty loud. And so there was a little bitty teeny bitty boos, but it was a resounding Goldberg chant in the very beginning. And so
So we saw what they wanted us. They saw what we wanted.
The Gunther promo basically was just a fan's opportunity to feel like they were cool again.
Okay, because it was they wanted us to see what that part of it
Yeah,
then. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Also, the fans seemed very confused about Seth Rollins. They couldn't wait to sing for 10 minutes with Seth Rollins. That ate up a lot of time,
Yes, it did.
but they couldn't wait to sing along with him until he kind of started being nasty to them, and then they still sang along with him.
That's what we call in the psychology field classical conditioning, aka the Pavlovian dogs. And so that was a B.F. Skinner. That was Pavlov, Ivan Pavlov. B.F. Skinner was operant conditioning. But yeah, Pavlov is that Pavlovian type of mentality, and it's just classical conditioning. You get stimulus, and there's a response to it. Stimulus
Weird
response.
crowd.
And so, and that's what we saw. That's what we saw. And this is and Seth Rollins, as much as Seth Rollins don't really connect with me all that strongly, he said something to me. He said something during the show that I thought was absolutely spot on. One of my favorite things that came out of Seth Rollins'
What was
mouth from
that?
the promo. So, he basically said, okay, you cheer, you don't know what you want, you have no idea what you want. He said that's
Right.
exactly what he said verbatim. You have no idea what you want. And it's true. It's true. He said, you want to cheer the OTC, you want to bark for the dog, you want to cheer CM Punk, you want to start singing along. I said spot on. And it's funny because I doubt that was like a part of the script or anything like that. It could have been, but I doubt it. But it's like he was spot on with that. But
I agree.
I say that, and then I'm thinking in my head, okay, if you make a statement that was so accurate because it's true, why in the heck do you still have your same music? Change your music. I like how he toned down his gear, his attire. He's wearing
Yeah.
black. I like that. Now, Seth, you got to go and transition all the way and change your music. Man. That's
See,
what you
what
got
would
to
be great? Seth changes his music, and then one of the baby faces that's against him comes out to Seth's old music.
do.
That would generate heat. That would generate heat.
I don't think that
But
would generate heat. That would make the song once again more over than the gimmick, than the person's
so
gimmick.
So again, talking about since you were there in person, um,
I got you all some sauce. I'm gonna get your super chat at the end, my man,
so
and
here's the.
whoever super chats that comes with that as well.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you, super chatters
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Apter chatters and Chris Featherstone chatters, Doctor chatters. Um, was last
Right.
night was last night the first volley of Cody Rhodes maybe turning heelish. Cody against Jey Uso. When Cody came to the ring, he's usually jolly and the whole bit, and he was the whole way through
Mm.
last night. Yeah, there was that hug at the end, and you thought that uh, Jay was going to attack him, or he was, and none of that happened. But to me, this kind of planted a seed that with Cody taking on Randy Orton, one of his best friends at Night of Champions, that by hook or crook, Cody's going to win. He's going to become the king. He's going to become snobby and maybe become uh, that second part of a heel run. And he said somewhere where I read on the internet that he said at some convention that he thinks that his babyface run may be coming to an end. I think this would be a great time to do that.
As long as it makes sense. As long as it makes sense, man. I mean, like that's where I'm at. As long as it makes sense. If he just does it just for the sake of it, so what? It doesn't have a long shelf life. Just to spark a reaction, and if there's not a good, and that's why I appreciate things like The Rock and when Shawn Michaels came back. Well, the reason why he declined having a match with AJ Styles, there was a rumored match, for the Royal Rumble a few years back. And you got to make it make sense, man. I mean, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars. There you go, ladies
But
and
it
gentlemen.
could. It could. He could kick him low and win the King of the Ring and prance around with the crown and become King Cody.
What
No,
is
doesn't do
some?
it for you.
I mean, like that just, okay. If he wins the King of the Ring, he doesn't have to turn heel to win King of the Ring.
No, I know that, but maybe it's time. He's been talking about turning heel now. So if they look for a good place to do it, it's against. He wrestled one of his friends, Jey Uso, in a really good match, and now he's got another friend who's going to be tougher in terms of character for him to beat. So could be a turnaround.
Okay, so if he turns heel at Night of Champions, you talked about the writers' room. I would say, okay, make that make sense, Bill Apter, as far as why he should turn heel. What do you got?
Just because he's. Oh, no, I haven't thought that through. I
Okay,
haven't thought that through.
see, exactly. I mean,
Well,
that's
apparently, he could be, that he hasn't been able to regain his title in a good guy way. So maybe it's time for him to get angrier.
but he
Because a
hasn't
couple
even
of
had a
times in that
he hasn't even
match,
had a
a couple of
rematch.
times in the match, he did this. I haven't seen him do that
But
in
he
a
hasn't
long
even
time.
had a rematch against Cena though,
I know. Well, that's it.
so that wouldn't even make sense.
You just got it. That'll get him the rematch. No.
No.
I have to think this. I have to think this one out
Okay. All
a
right.
little bit more.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Who
indeed.
wins that match, Dr. Chris? Cody or
I
Randy
think
Orton? Oh,
it makes sense for Cody to win, and somehow we'll
hmm
probably get Cody Cena at the rematch. It's basically it was just a it was a roundabout way to get a Cody Cena rematch when essentially you could have just had Cody and Cena have a rematch
yeah,
anyways. Why would
yeah.
you do a,
It's
a
not a
King of
hot
the?
item right now. Cody
I agree.
Cena's not a hot item yet.
I
They'd
agree.
have to heat it up somehow. They'd have to find a
I
way to
agree.
heat it up.
I 100% agree with that, Bill. I do
You said,
because
you, I'm sorry.
essentially you're just doing you just gave me a roundabout way to kill time to do the same type of match. I mean, like
What they're doing.
you just had you had Cody lose to Cena, and why did Cody have to win the Money in the Bank? I mean, the King of the Ring to get a rematch against Cena, where essentially he can just either attack him or cut a promo just like everybody else does.
Because
go ahead.
because there's a 25-year-old writer sitting in that room thinking that makes sense.
And there's no other writers to tell him that it doesn't, and that's one of the biggest
That's
reasons
right.
why I have
Sounds good.
issues
Let's
with
do it.
WWE creative.
Let's do it.
Let's
Give
do
it to
it.
the
Yeah, let's do it.
You
We've
said
got
we have a
we've got we've got 2 months to kill. Let's just go ahead and just kill it. Yay!
Okay.
All right, let's do super chat awesome sauce $5. Bill, I watched Mid South WrestleFest in Tulsa from 1985, and you were ringside. Any memories? Also, is the '82 Snuka Backlund cage match the best Madison Square Garden match ever?
No, I don't. I was at the Garden every month for back in those days. That was one of the best matches ever at the Garden. But remember, I go way, way back, and you talk about classic Bruno Sammartino matches, one-on-one. They were just incredible. Bruno against Ken Patera, Bobby Duncombe, Ivan Koloff. I watched Mid South WrestleFest in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, memories were that entire card, that territory was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And back in around 1985, wrestling was on fire. The Crockett area, the Oklahoma area, it was great. And no, I just have memories of changing film very quickly to get a ton of pictures. I don't remember any of the matches off the top of my. Dr. Chris, can you call up on your computer that card? Are you in a position to do that before we head out of here? Great question. Awesome sauce, by the way. I do like Heinz ketchup and JR sauce. But we're going to look it up. Was it ring?
Let's see.
Ernie Ladd.
28th, 1985.
I bet you Ernie Ladd was on there. I always remember his match.
Al Perez. You got Al Perez versus Mark Reagan, one-man gang versus Wendell Cooley, Brickhouse Brown versus Barbarian, the Fantastics versus Eddie Gilbert and Jerry Gray. You have Jake Roberts versus Ted DiBiase.
I remember that.
Butch Reed versus Dirty Dutch Mantel. Duggan and Murdoch against Kamala, Kareem Muhammad, and Skandar
Akbar, yeah.
And then for the NWA World Heavyweight Champions, Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes, baby.
Oh yeah. That I shot so many Flair Dusty matches, and it was nice. Other than that one thing that Flair always did with going over the turnbuckle and everything, their matches were pretty. They were good. They were very exciting. The fans couldn't wait for them to come to their town, if you will, baby.
Yeah.
The Nature Boy.
Awesome as always, my man. Yes, indeed, baby. Malcolm Dwayne.
Now, next week, I'm
let the listeners know where to find you.
I will be on assignment next week. So I will not be here with you, Dr. Chris.
Yes, indeed. There would be a replacement for you. Yep. All right, let them know where to find you, my man.
Right here
of course not.
Twitter X.
Yes, indeed.
At Apter One Wrestling. And also, right after this show, jump over to Wrestle Binge, where I'll be with Wrestle Votes and Joe Lowry for our Q&A that was taped earlier this evening.
Yes, indeed. All right. And be sure to subscribe to the Pancakes and Power Sam show. I'll be doing that right after the show. And the topic for tonight is I'm going to explain this, the psychology behind why people, specifically wrestling fans, pay so much for these tickets nowadays. So I'm going to explain the psychology.
It's a concert. It's an event.
So
By the
it's
way,
much deeper than that. So I'll explain the psychology behind it.
on our Q&A with Russell Votes, we have a guy, a fan, every week who puts in a question. His name is Waffle Reigns. And I
Okay.
told him that he has to go to pancakes and power slams.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Waffles meets pancakes.
Yes, indeed. Love it. Love it. It sounds
Gotta
like
have it.
it sounds like a brunch. It sounds like a dream for a brunch person. So, this guy right here is Bill Apter. I am Dr. Chris. This is Unscripted. Have a good night, everybody.
We'll see you at the matches. Remember.
Solo.